What up, everybody? A while back, possibly going all the way back to BMF Season 1, 50 Cent started hitting at possible future BMF spinoffs. Then about a year ago, 50 must have been going through a contract dispute with Starz or something like that. Because he posted something about not doing any more business with Starz and that he's not going to be doing any BMF spinoffs with them in the future either. And I've said before on previous videos that 50 said in his book that he had spin-offs and prequels in mind from the beginning with power. So most likely that was also discussed between 50 and Starz when the BMF universe was originally created. Because a few months ago, the talk about expanding the BMF universe started again when 50 shared a picture of Eric Kofi Abrifa and mentioned Lamar having his own spin-off. Then again, just about a week or so ago, 50 made another post on IG saying that the BMF universe has 2 new spinoffs coming our way soon. So today I'm going to talk about the possible BMF spinoffs that are in the works. Starting off with the Lamar spinoff because the fact that 50's already hinted at it. And either though Lamar was one of my least favorite characters on the show, I do have to admit that he was a fan favorite and that Eric Kofi Abrifa killed his role. Not saying it's guaranteed that one of the BMF spinoffs will be about Lamar, but because 50 hinted at it, it's likely. But my big question concerning a Lamar spinoff is, would it be a continuation from where we last saw him in BMF or a prequel showing Lamar's backstory? Most likely, even if it was a prequel similar to Raising Kanan, that it wouldn't go that far back where they would have to change the actor. Possibly just cleaning him up a little bit and having the actor lose some weight. Because we know from interviews and stuff like that the real Lamar really had nothing more to do with BMF after Meech went to Atlanta. Same with B. Mickey, saying that it had been 31 years since he had last spoken to either Meech or T before T got out of prison. So most likely we've seen the last of both B. Mickey and Lamar in the current BMF series. Either though it is possible to change things around and bring them back, but I don't think they'll do that because the storyline has to keep moving forward. Also in the interview on Vlad, Laded Simon, the real Lamar, said that he ended up moving to Memphis around the same time. And went there and kept doing the same thing that he was doing in Detroit. Last time we saw Lamar, he had just killed his baby mother Monique, which caused him to lose his mind a little bit. And allowing Meech to use his cousin Alvin, who was sick of Lamar bullying him around, to turn Lamar into a crackhead. And last time Lamar was seen on screen, T was riding by Lamar at the end of Season 3, and Lamar was wandering the streets like a full-blown basehead. But one thing about crack that differs from other hard drugs like heroin is that there's no physical dependency involved. Meaning that crack can be kicked a little easier than other drugs because it's primarily mental. And it's not going to cause you to get physically sick if you quit, like what would happen with heroin or possibly someone who was a serious alcoholic. And a lot of people who stop smoking crack can end up living normal lives because unlike H, where it keeps calling you back, most former baseheads I've known actually have no desire to become a basehead again. So with that said, Lamar could easily get off the crack and move to Memphis where we could see the Lamar spinoff. And I've been to Memphis a couple times and it's probably the grimiest place I've ever been to. And I thought my hometown was grimy, but it don't got nothing on Memphis, Tennessee, like Young Buck used to say. Part of the reason why they call the basketball team Grit and Grind, because that's just the Memphis culture. So personally, I think a Lamar spinoff in Memphis would be lit, plus it would be on the same timeline as BMF. So we could definitely see potential crossovers between the two series, and even the other spinoff that 50 has in mind that I'll get to in a second. But just a few details about Lamar's backstory before I move on, just in case it's actually Lamar prequel coming. Lamar grew up in, I believe he said, Ohio, another state outside of Michigan, and moved to Detroit at some point as a teen and connected with his cousin Alvin. We also know that before that Lamar was in foster care, so most likely that he grew up without any parents. Lamar was later popped with an assault charge and sentenced to 4 years in a mental institution, but got out after just 2. And that's the start of the BMF timeline where we first met Lamar in Season 1. Between the time Lamar moved to the D and when he got locked up, Lamar terrorized the entire area of South Detroit, River Rouge, and Ecorse, robbing dealers and pushing H. Get me to the other BMF spinoff, one that hasn't been mentioned yet, but knowing the history of the Flannery brothers and BMF, I almost feel like this spinoff has to come sooner rather than later, and that is the Terry Flannery 263 spinoff. Either though the Flannery brothers don't officially split up and go their own way until sometime in the early 2000s, I feel like the 263 spinoff will come prior to that because the fact that Meech and T will never really live in the same city again. And I think we're already seeing the beginning stages in the works as Meech moved to Atlanta. It seems like this season, BMF has almost doubled up their cast, which is almost a given because of the fact that they're now in two different cities. But one thing is, Meech is going to continue to navigate from city to city, connecting with even more people. So eventually, there's just going to be too many characters and too many storylines for just one series anyway. So because of this, I feel like the 263 series will be coming no later than Season 5 of BMF. I wouldn't even be surprised if Season 3 is the last season of BMF as we know it. And if not Season 3, most likely Season 4. Keep in mind, they've already started hinting about a possible 263 spinoffs at the beginning of Season 3 as OGT was eating dinner with his crew, telling everyone at the table there will always be 263, right before Bryant busted in the door and arrested him. And before Season 3 began, Starz did a promo video with Lil Meech and Da Vinci, and the video was titled Main Character Energy. Was this an actual Easter egg that both Lil Meech and Da Vinci would be the main character in their own show, respectfully? Again, like I mentioned earlier when talking about the possible Lamar spinoff, both BMF and 263 would be on the same timeline, guaranteeing that we would see a couple crossovers per season, with either Meech appearing on 263 or T appearing on BMF, or even doing it with the other characters. But if both Lamar and 263 are not the BMF spinoffs that 50 has in mind, what do you think they could possibly be? Let me know what you think in the comments. One more possibility that I have in mind, now that the real big Meech is getting out of prison, is a possible BMF reality show. And the final possibility that I have in mind for a BMF spinoff would be not really a BMF spinoff, but in the same universe as BMF, leaving the door open for potential crossovers moving forward. And that would be creating a series on another big-time drug dealer from that time. This is again going back to the beginning of Season 2 when Meech was in Vegas picking up some weight for K9. And dude wanted Meech to stay for the fight, but Meech had to get back to the D to get K9 to work and get back to business. But on the way out, dude introduced Meech to some of the biggest players in the game nationwide, including Freeway Ricky Ross, aka the real Rick Ross, Rayful Edmonds and the DC Boys, and Chris Koch in the Jamaican Posse. So it is definitely possible that one of the spinoffs coming could be about them, especially since they didn't use fake names when addressing them, but all three are real life people. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.